with both of my births after that, both of my out of hospital births, I just felt like my provider listened to me and took into account what I wanted, and not only took that into account, but encouraged me.
Hey everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Entering Motherhood, a podcast dedicated specifically to new moms going through this amazing journey in life. I'm your host, Sarah Bilger, a postpartum nutritional coach / mechanical engineer. And as always, I'm so excited to be here with you and share all of the information I've been lucky enough to obtain since becoming a mom. In this episode, we talk with Shannon Fleming, the owner of Brave the Waves, Birth and Beyond, about her personal birthing journey and how she now helps mamas avoid the struggles she endured in her early years of motherhood. Before this episode begins, I just want to say thank you so much for listening.
And I also want to talk about a couple of events we have coming up, one starting April 1st.
This event is for mamas who are either currently trying to conceive, are pregnant, or are in the early postpartum stage and may have some trauma in their life that they're looking to release. We go through 30 ways in 30 days of how to heal your trauma. You'll get a workbook and you'll listen to the daily mini episodes of the podcast that correspond to this a unique experience. I hope that you know that you are not alone in this and that you deserve this time to heal.
The other event we have coming up is the first ever Entering Motherhood Festival, and it is happening on May 15th, 2022, right here in the Greenville area.
If you want more information on this, please go to the Entering Motherhood website or feel free to reach out to me with any questions. And with that, let's get this episode started. Hello and welcome to Entering Motherhood. I'm super excited to have you here today and really just get this conversation started. So how about you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Shannon Fleming. I'm a wife and mother of 4, from teenager all the way down to almost 2 years old. I'm originally from New Jersey, but I moved down to South Carolina, gosh, almost 14 years ago. And then I met my husband, and we've been married for over 10 years. And I am a birth and sibling doula, childbirth educator, and hopefully soon a trained and certified postpartum doula as well. So my business is Brave the Waves, Birth and Beyond. And yeah, I love supporting birth and supporting families.
How long have you been a doula for?
Over 5 years. I did my
Okay.
training with a local midwife. Yeah, a little over 5 years, probably about 5.5 years ago.
And what really led you into wanting to be a doula?
So my own birth experiences, with my oldest, I was pretty young and did like zero preparation for birth, zero education. I was just thinking I would go in and just kind of wing it, and birth is not something that you should just try to wing it. And then I had my son, and it was a little bit different with him, but I still felt like I wasn't heard and seen with him, like his with my pregnancy, with his delivery, and also postpartum. Like I made a big life altering decision after I had him, and that kind of affected the rest of our lives and possibly affected my health. And I mean, I can go more into that if you want to. Um, it involves a tubal ligation device. Yeah. So I didn't want anyone else to, go through what I went through and feel. the way I felt.
Yeah. So
So
what was that? What was all
so
involved?
it's called essure. It is a tubal ligation device. It's these metalloid coils that they insert into your fallopian tubes, and they're supposed to cause scarring in the fallopian tubes. So they're supposed to block the fallopian tubes. Well, one of the coils actually fell out of my tube and was embedded in my uterus. So I had to have that removed. So we knew that one coil was blocked and one wasn't. We weren't not trying to get pregnant, I guess, but we weren't trying to get pregnant, but we weren't not trying. And, we knew that one of my tubes was blocked. And then so 5 years after I had my son, I got pregnant with our third. And then about 2 years after that, we got pregnant again. That time we definitely were trying not to get pregnant. Um, but she's here. So I have 3 girls and 1 boy. The 2 youngest are my 2 little girls, and I mean, I love them to death, but it's just it's just crazy that they're here. But after I had the incident with one of the coils falling out, I started to research and found a whole group of women who have been affected by this device. And there's also a documentary on Netflix.
So
And
is
there
it
was a
like a
whole
form of birth control or like
it's
it's
a
meant to
form of
just
it's a form of tubal ligation. Like,
okay.
instead of the clamps or instead
Right.
of, like, the cutting and burning method, and I should have known better because my mom actually had, like, the cut and burn method of ligation, and, she actually ended up with an ectopic pregnancy because of it. That was another thing is like, after I got pregnant, each time I had to go and make sure, like I had a lot of anxiety each time I found out I was pregnant because of the risk of like ectopic pregnancy. So thankfully, there weren't any issues. And actually, kind of because of that experience, I looked outside of the, medicalized birth community for their births. I had my third at a birthing center, and then I had my fourth at home. And those were both really healing experiences for me.
So when the coil fell out, did you like how did you notice that?
Oh, so you have to go for an x-ray 3
Okay.
months after they place the coils.
Okay.
And so, yeah, you go for an x-ray, they inject this like dye into your uterus, they do the x-ray, and then they see, if that dye has traveled into your fallopian tubes, which obviously one of mine, it did go into. So that's how they found out.
Wow. So when you were preparing for your third birth, you said that was at a birthing center. What was that transition like? Like, how was it, looking for a center that would be able to offer what you were looking for? And how did you kind of go about that?
Actually, initially, I wasn't planning on going to a birthing center. I hired the midwife who I did my doula training with. And she's essentially a home birth midwife, but she has privileges at Carolina Water Birth. And so just because of insurance reasons, we paid her mainly out of pocket, but it just was a little bit cheaper for us to go to the birthing center, or not cheaper, but like more cost effective for us. And so that's why we decided to go the birthing center route. And so I don't know, I was just more comfortable with the idea of that. Also, I went to some prenatals at the birthing center with her and got to, look at it and everything. And the rooms were really nice. And I would have the option of, doing a water birth. And so, yeah, we decided to go that route and I really enjoyed it.
So you said that both, your third and fourth births were very healing. What was healing for you in those births, and what was that feeling like?
Just the fact that like I I felt I felt like what I wanted was taken into account. Like I was induced with my son in the hospital and I really didn't want to do that. Um I made the mistake of telling my OB that my oldest, my daughter, was 9 pounds when she was born. And so my OB was like, "Oh, well, we should probably induce you at 39 weeks." And I was like, "Well, I don't really want to do that." And apologies to my husband because whenever I talk about this, I think he feels like I'm throwing him under the bus. But he was also like, "Oh, well, if you're induced, then, we know when you're going into labor and I can take, you know, time off from work and give them notice so that I can take like, a whole week off or whatever." And so I like begrudgingly, you know, agreed to being induced. But the funny thing is like, I don't know, my way of like sticking it to my provider was that I was like, "Okay, but I'm not getting an epidural." Like that was I don't know, that was my I don't know, in my head, that was like me, like being rebellious.
And they were
Um,
probably like, "Okay, sure."
yeah.
Like
Yeah, they were like, "First of all, we don't care." But secondly, "Sure you won't," which I didn't, I think because I drew that line in the sand. I was like, "I'm not." And, and I mean, I did handle that labor, pretty well. They, and also they discouraged me from like getting out of the bed and, being on the birth ball and all that. I handled labor pretty well. I let them break my water. That's when things started getting, pretty intense. But then, you know, at that point I was going through transition. And I didn't know that yet. After doing my doula training and everything, I know that now that I was going through transition and everything. So I did ask for, some pain meds in my IV, and the the nurse, like nobody checked me before administering them. And it was like literally right after she administered the pain meds, I felt like ring of fire and was pushing. And then because of the pain meds, I missed the first 2 hours of my son's life. So, yeah, because they kinda knocked me out. So, that and then, you know, trusting my doctor with the whole essure thing and having that bite me, I just had a distaste for medicalized birth. Not that it's wrong for everyone, but it just put a bad taste in my mouth. And so I went looking for alternatives. And so, with both of my births after that, both of my out of hospital births, I just felt like my provider listened to me and took into account what I wanted. And not only took that into account, but encouraged me. I mean, all providers should be doing that, you know, within reason, obviously, because medical issues come up. But I love that Brad Boots Taylor came up with the term shared decision making, that, you should be talking. It should be a conversation with your provider about, your birth plans. And I felt that. Also, my husband was totally on board, especially after our experience with our son. So my husband was totally on board with the whole out of hospital thing. He is good at just being there, and so I hired doulas for both of my out of hospital experiences, and they were awesome, and they allowed my husband to just be there with me, not to have to feel like he had to be in that role, which he does not do well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great that he was so supportive of your decisions and really willing to, do something that neither of you had done before. And, it's not always the traditional route. And unless, your family has been doing home births or birth center births and things like that, it could be, very hard for family members and just other people involved to really grasp that concept. So I think it's, I guess, like unique to find, partners and family and such to be really supportive in that. And I think more people are being, aware of it and willing to accept it. But even, with me preparing for a VBAC, it was kind of like, well, you're still going to be in a hospital, right? Like, but that was something, like I felt comfortable with, but I could have very well went like home birth route. And that's still something that people do with VBACs. And I think it's just doing what you feel comfortable with and then having people support you. And it also kind of, ties into what we were talking about earlier with, just um, how and when you tell people that you're going into labor, and also just, when your quote unquote due date is or your
Yes.
expected date. But I think it's a choice that I get to make whether I inform people of that or not.
Yeah,
And so,
absolutely.
where have you kind of seen that play into clients that you've had? And what have you kind of seen with like people kind of leaving that estimated date to themselves? And also, when they're in labor, informing people when and how.
I don't know if I've had any clients who, like, completely didn't inform anyone of anything, but I've had clients who have announced to friends and family, like, as soon as like, gone on Facebook and been like, "Hey, I'm in labor." Um, and also clients who have not told anybody anything about when labor starts. And I've seen a difference. I've literally seen a difference because as soon as they announce that they're in labor, they're just bombarded with, comments or text messages or phone calls. How things going? Where's baby? When's baby gonna get here? Um, and I've just seen it like mentally take a toll on them. They might not be there in person, but they are in the room, and the more eyes you have on you during labor, the more likely it is to interfere with you getting into that zone and that rhythm and that pattern. And on the flip side, I've seen, clients not tell anybody anything, and they had it may be coincidence, but they had very smooth and relatively short labors. So I because birth is a mental thing. It is just as much, if not more mental than it is physical, because you can deal with it physically. You can. If you are not in the right state of mind, you won't. Yeah, it's just been very interesting to see how something as little as a text message can affect. Also, like, you know, I definitely encourage clients to set boundaries with friends and family who maybe don't agree with their birthing plan. if you know that they're going to have an issue with how you plan to birth, don't tell them anything. If you tell them and they, have something to say, just, set up that boundary that you're going to shut down conversation that goes in a negative direction, because you may say that you don't care what people think, but it's just there mentally in the back of your mind, especially if it's very like a close family member or friend, like a mother or, a grandmother or something like that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It is a mental part to it. Like there is such a mental side to preparing for birth, laboring, going through all that. And I think with Rosie, my first, I definitely was not mentally preparing. Like I had taken a class, I had quote unquote like done all the things, but I was not in the mindset that I needed to be in if things went differently than I was imagining. And I think those expectations of what I thought it was going to be like really kind of were hard to get past when I was actually in it. I was like, this isn't the way it was supposed to be. Like, this isn't the way I was supposed to come to the hospital. Like, everything was just kind of like ripple effect going downhill. And it was so hard to pull myself into a better mental state when so many other things were going on that I had never experienced before. So, like mentally preparing for so much more and just like expecting the unexpected in a way, and just being ready for those changes or be pleasantly surprised with whatever happens. And I think, like that's something that's hard. So like what do you when you said like setting boundaries, what do you kind of like recommend, or how do you start with setting boundaries?
It's hard. I come from a family that has narcissists in it, and I've kind of like just recently, like in the past couple of years, realized that, and realized that that's a reason that I feel the way I feel a lot of times, and I do the things that I do. So it's definitely been hard to set boundaries, but it's necessary, and so you can just avoid the person, um, but sometimes that's not possible. But just really kind of just drawing that line and saying, you know, we're not going to, if you're going to be negative, we're not going to discuss it with you. And another thing that can be hard is that like it can be subtle. Like it's not like I love my grandmother, but I don't know, she was fine with us having a birthing center birth, but when I told her we were having a home birth with our fourth, she was like, "Oh, you're so brave." And I was like, "What?" Like I'm not trying to be brave. Like have there's nothing scary to me about home birth or the idea of home birth. Like, um, so something like that, something subtle like that can be hard to put a boundary on. But yeah, just letting people know that if you don't have anything nice to say, we just won't talk about it. Like, that's it.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's great. And so you said that, like you're also preparing for like postpartum doula services and things like that. But I know that you do sibling doula services. So can you kind of explain what that is, like what that entails for those that don't know what it is and maybe interested in that kind of service?
Yeah. So I became, I guess, passionate about sibling support I mean, I have supported siblings in the birth space with my birth clients, and then when I had my third at the birthing center, my mom and my oldest two, they followed us there, and they were in the waiting room while I was in labor. I didn't have a very long labor, but I had asked my son, while I was pregnant, "Hey, do you want to" well, I asked both of them, "Do you wanna see the baby being born?" My oldest was like, "Heck no." But my son, surprisingly, was all for it, and so when it came time for me to, like, actually push her out, I remember saying, "Hey, where's Elijah?" And so somebody, I guess my doula, went and got him, and he came in, and you know what? I was actually it was a very good thing 'cause, when I hit transition, um, and then especially when I hit that, like, ring of fire, I kinda panic, um, and, I can start hyperventilating, I kind of freeze up, and so when he came in, I was like, "I do not wanna traumatize this kid." So it helped me, like it helped me, kind of reset and refocus on, what I needed to do. So it helped me, like, calm down. And so the room that we were in, the birthing tub, I think it was in, like, kind of a corner, and the walls of the tub were clear. It was like plexiglass. And so I was on my hands and knees, and I'm pushing the baby out in the water, and I don't remember this, but my mom said she could hear my son from the all the way in the waiting room. He was like, "I see her, she's coming." And yeah. And so he got to, like, witness his sister being born, and got to, like, cuddle with her after she was born and see everything, see the placenta, see the cord being cut, see her, being weighed and swaddled and nursed. And so after that, I was like, I really want to be there, like, specifically for clients' older children. I want to help educate them. I want to help them, experience birth without being fearful of it. And so my sibling services are kind of similar to my birth services. I do some prenatals, maybe like two or three prenatals with them, um, helping to educate them. I have um, I have a doll. She's called her name is Stella, but she's a Mama Amor doll, and she gives birth to a baby, and she's got a placenta and everything attached to the baby. And she's got little, like, buttons for nipples, and the baby, like, can latch onto her breast. And then I have a weighted baby doll so that kids who have never held a baby before can feel how heavy, because it's not a new baby is not like your normal baby doll. They're heavy. And then I, provide the parent. I have some books about pregnancy and birth for geared for kids. Um, I have a I have a cute little home birth book that my midwife gave me. It's really cute, and kids love it. And I provide the parents with some um, YouTube links for, like, simulated birth. Like, I kind of introduced, like, this is what I did with my son. I found a, like, computer simulation of childbirth and showed him that. It's just very straightforward how the baby moves through the birth canal. No blood or waters or anything like that. And then we moved on to animal birth, because animals kind of make it look easy. But then we're getting into all the fluids and afterbirth and stuff like that. And then we started watching, there's a group called BirthTube. We started watching, you know, videos of birth or live like feeds of birth. And he you know, got to see and hear all the different things and sounds and everything. So that's what I do with my sibling clients. Then during the birth, I am with them like in or around the birth space. Obviously, I can't really support siblings in the hospital setting anymore just because of restrictions, but I can support them I can help prepare them for, the new baby coming home. But I mainly support birthing center and home birth now. So, about a year ago, I had a lovely repeat client, and she had a home birth, and I was there for her two younger girls. And basically, I just, hung out and played with them in their room, or we went outside and they rode their bikes. And then when it was time for mom to push, we quietly came into the birthing space, and they just stood there and watched like in awe. And it was just so sweet and so cute. And I took some pictures of them, and then, mom had the baby, and then they all just like the whole family just gathered around. Her adult son was even there, like, and I was able to like answer some questions for him even. So I have supported, you know, siblings from teenager and adult all the way down to, 2 years old. So it's just such a sweet and special time. It's so cool, like, seeing young kids get excited about a placenta.
It's such a crazy idea because, like, honestly, I didn't even know what a placenta was. Like, I don't
Right.
think that I fully even like grasped it while I was pregnant. I was like, okay, cool. Like, it's one of those things that like you just don't talk about or like don't
Yeah.
know about. And then, like I can't even imagine what it would have been like if I saw, because my brother's 6 years younger than me. So, like, I couldn't even tell you what happened when he was born. Like, I don't know where we were. I don't know if we were just sleeping or what happened, but one day we just had a baby brother. And so like it's such a cool idea to really involve the kids. And we think that, oh, they're too young, like they won't understand, like things like that. But even Rosie, she's only 2, and it's just like the processing, and it's like so cute to see how they comprehend it.
Yeah. Like, it also, like you said, like, you woke up and, "Oh, there's a baby." Like, they get to see the process of what it takes to bring a baby into the world. I think that it also helps with, like, bonding, like, them bonding as siblings. I don't know, it's just such a beautiful thing to witness, just for them to see, where do babies come from?
Mhm. Yeah, and I think it's something that we can definitely, include our kids in and inform them on. Like, it doesn't have to be something that's so like hush hush or like they don't need to know or anything like that. Like, you
I
know,
mean, you don't have to go into, like, detail where the baby came from yet,
yeah.
but, like
Right. But just like
but
explaining like the process of birth to be like such a beautiful thing and like what's going on, and I think making them feel involved in the process is going to be like such a gift in itself.
yeah, oh my gosh, my kids loved going to my midwife's office when I was pregnant with my 4th. Yeah, they loved going to Carrie's office, and I mean, not just because they got to, like, play with some toys, but, like, they also got to they also got to, like, hear the baby's heartbeat
Yeah.
and, see, my midwife and her assistants, like, palpating my belly and, just n totally normalizing pregnancy and birth, like, as a natural process. Yeah, we loved it.
What else have you found helpful or useful, or what do you wish new moms, and not necessarily like first time moms, but just, a mom entering motherhood again for another time, or their first time, like what would you kind of like say has been the biggest piece of advice that you have come across, or something that's been the most useful that you really try to share with your clients?
Hmm, I think I would say that there's no, like, one size fits all for any of it. Um, for pregnancy, for birth, for postpartum, for parenting. We're all just, like, trying to figure it out and do our best. Like, you can read all the books and you can watch all the videos and do all the things, and, you know, things are not gonna go like you thought they were. And so, I mean, you gotta be really open-minded. You have to be really, not that, like, you can't plan for anything, but you just gotta be, like, open to, um, adapting to change. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's something that I've definitely kind of fell into and like embraced the more I've traveled through this journey. And I think it just, I don't want to say easier, but it's just so much more relaxing to kind of let those things happen or flow or be more accepting of it. Because I think before I was very like high anxiety, always stressing, needing to control. And I think I was led to believe that like if I can plan hard enough or if I can do enough, that it would work out the way I wanted it to. And I think, with motherhood, we have these little humans that have a mind of their own, have like personalities and journeys that they're going on. And like you said, like it's, there is no like one size fits all. Like we're all going to have unique children, we're all going to have unique experiences. And I think just like understanding that and accepting that is is hard at first, like really, really hard. But then once we kind of fall into that, I think it's just like such a weight that's lifted. And then you're kind of just like, oh, okay, like I can't necessarily control this, that, and that. But, I can, focus on how I'm going to react to it or what I'm going to do when something like that happens. And I think it's just like such a learning experience that has, I don't know, completely changed my life. Like I would never imagine I'd be where I am today just, 2 years ago. So,
So part of the reason I named my business Brave the Waves, I mean, obviously, you can take it a number of different ways, but, braving the waves of contractions. But a big reason I named it that was because, life is full of, I compare it to like the ocean. You can have calm days and you can have storms, but you should have someone there to help you navigate, to just support you and tell you you're doing a good job. I mean, we have good days, we have bad days. We're all going through something at some point. And so it's just so important to, like, have someone there to help you through it.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's great. Well, thank you so much for sharing your journey and really just telling us, what you do, where you've started, how this has all evolved and really just, what has gone into all that. And if we're interested in looking for your services, you're in the Greenville area. If anybody's local, how can we reach you? How can we find you? Even if they're not in the Greenville area and they're interested in learning more about you and your journey, where are you at?
Yeah, I mean, I do offer virtual support, so they can contact me through my Facebook page, Brave the Waves Birth and Beyond. They can email me at bravethewaves.doula@gmail.com. My phone number is 864-991-7184. I should have my website up in a couple of months, but yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. I love talking about this.
Well, this wraps up yet another episode of Entering Motherhood. I hope that you have found this episode helpful, and if you liked it, please share it with others who might also benefit from this information. If there's anything that you'd like to know more about, or maybe you know someone who'd like to be on the show, please visit my website, enteringmotherhood.com. I'm so thrilled to be going on this journey with you and getting the amazing opportunity to help moms during this postpartum experience. You can also now find us on Instagram and Facebook at Entering Motherhood.